Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Chantel Aubry, and I'm the Business Development Manager here at Emergence. I'm pleased to be your moderator today and to welcome you to this Prophix webinar, where we will show you how to align your budget with performance reporting. But just a few housekeeping items before we get started. In order to keep the flow of the presentation moving along and on schedule, the audience is on mute today, but we still want to keep this interactive, so we ask that you please type in your questions in the side panel, and we'll review and answer all your questions at the end of the presentation. Now, before we move on to the presentation, we have quite a few people in attendance today that are new to Emergence. So I'd like to give you a super quick overview of Emergence. We are Tracy, can you move the slide? Thank you. We are a Bermuda-based organization, and we are a business solutions provider. Our primary focus, and what we're probably known for the most, is the implementation and support of business platforms such as Dynamics GP and Dynamics CRM. But we also have a large focus on corporate performance management, corporate reporting, business intelligence, and business automation. We have a staff of 35 people, including solution architects, business analysts, accountants, and functional and technical consultants. We have people who've been with the organization for 10, 15, and even 20 years, but we also have a lot of new people as well. Emergence has hired 8 people in the last year alone, and our recruitment efforts are still ongoing. So we're definitely in growth mode, which is always a great place to be. We have over 150 clients here in Bermuda, many of which have offices overseas, so we support many of those offices as well. We have a balanced portfolio of financial services companies, distribution companies, local and international businesses. And finally, we have access to a large network of trusted solution partners. Microsoft has a very large ecosystem of third-party vendors, so we spend a lot of time evaluating new partners to bring solutions that meet the requirements of our clients and the overall Caribbean market. And that's exactly how we came to partner with Prophix. We were looking for a solution that we could offer to our clients on the side of superior budgeting, planning, forecasting, and financial consolidation. And after evaluating several solutions, we decided on Prophix, and it's been such a great addition to our portfolio. And Prophix also has the added benefit now that it will help our insurance clients meet their IFRS 17 reporting requirements. And my colleague, Aaron Samuel, will be joining us to tell you a little bit more about that at the end of today's presentation, so please stay tuned for that. With that being said, I'd like to introduce you to our presenter today, Tracy Welsh. Tracy is a solution engineer and has been with Prophix for 15 years. She started as a consultant with actual feet-on-the-ground experience, helping customers just like yourselves to implement Prophix. So without any further delay, over to you, Tracy.
Thank you, Chantel. So we've got a pretty packed agenda for you today. So first, we're going to have a brief introduction to Prophix as a company. Then we'll talk a little bit about the many capabilities of Prophix. We'll focus on one component, though, the performance reporting. We'll define it, talk a little bit about the challenges that companies like yourselves face when they're trying to implement performance reporting, and then also how Prophix can help you to solve those challenges. We'll then spend the bulk of the time in the live software, so you can see for yourselves just how powerful and effective Prophix can be. And as Chantel said, we'll finish up with a discussion on IFRS 17 with Aaron, and we'll have a Q&A session at the end. So let's get started. So Prophix has been in the business of corporate performance management for over 30 years. With over 3,000 customers in more than 100 countries, Prophix has been recognized by all the major industry analysts, so Gartner, Dresner, BPM Partners, and so forth. The key thing here really is the ability of Prophix to directly interface with all of your information systems and to provide you with a full spectrum of corporate performance management capabilities. So budgeting, planning, forecasting, reporting, and so forth. And all of this is wrapped up in workflow. which enhances the ability to collaborate across the organization, to capture and share information, which is the core of the performance reporting. Because performance reporting is meant to integrate the budgeting, planning, forecasting functions with your other data, it's important that you're comfortable that Prophix can meet those needs as well as on the reporting, which it does. It provides capabilities to solve things like your revenue and margin planning and forecasting at whatever level of granularity makes sense to you. So customers, products, daily, weekly, monthly, and so forth. It does the same for your other budgeting and planning needs as well. So expenses, personnel, CapEx, cash flow, balance sheet, planning, and so forth. It then integrates the data to give you a comprehensive, both forward and backward-looking view of your business. So this is where we're going to be focused today on the reporting side. So let's continue with the other capabilities, and then we'll dig deeper into the reporting function. And you'll see all of this in the demo. So Prophix can also help you with your consolidation needs, from simple data aggregation to full financial consolidation. Prophix can perform things like currency translations, intercompany eliminations, and other adjustments to the data, minority interest reporting, and provide what-if capabilities around all of these functions. And finally, Prophix is above all a system that provides a high degree of automation through its powerful workflow and process management. This is particularly important for performance reporting as it enhances communication and collaboration across the organization, while taking a lot of the time-consuming but non-value-add activities out of the hands of finance personnel, giving them more time for analysis. So really, putting together reports, grabbing data, pulling data together. So all of that is done automatically by Prophix, and so it gives the finance folks a chance to really spend the time doing what it is they're meant to do. So analyzing, planning, and so forth. So let's dig into performance reporting. So performance reporting refers to an integrated system of planning and reporting that is oriented to achieving outcomes. So over and above that, performance reporting instantly identifies the purpose and context of your report and empowers your employees to make better business decisions. Supplementing your reports with things like cell comments, supporting schedules, row note comments, it allows you to add the crucial information needed for business success. But performance reporting can be very challenging for many organizations. A big challenge is the fact that for many companies, their data is in a wide range of systems, multiple ERPs, CRM, payroll systems, as well as budgets and forecasts and things like that in Excel. So how do you bring the data together for a comprehensive view of the business? Data integrity can also be an issue, particularly with Excel. So you have things like broken links, broken formulas, as well as multiple versions floating around. That leads to the question, which number is the true number? Also timeliness, because building reports in Excel especially is often manual and labor intensive, with a lot of time spent validating the data. That can mean that by the time the reports are ready, it's already too late to effect meaningful change. And finally, a lack of collaboration tools can make capturing and sharing the context and explanations very difficult, hampering the ability of the organization to make good business decisions on how to move forward. But don't worry, help is on the way. So the biggest area that Prophix helps with is providing a single source of truth. So Prophix links directly to all of your source systems, multiple ERPs, CRM, HR systems, even Excel. These links can be set up to run on a scheduled basis so that you can set it and forget it. But you can always run it on an ad hoc basis as well, and it's super simple. Just push the button and the system will refresh the data from any of the systems that you want it to. This direct link ensures that all of your data is correct and timely. Backed up by a database and centralized calculations, Prophix ensures that everyone is looking at the same number. No questions around which version is the correct one. And again, all of this is done in a timely fashion, giving your stakeholders time to analyze the results and to effect meaningful change. Finally, in addition to the numbers themselves, it's important to provide context and sometimes explanations for the numbers, as well as suggestions for the future changes. Prophix workflow enhances communication and collaboration by establishing formal processes for collecting the additional information and then for sharing that information across the organization, giving key stakeholders a wider and deeper understanding of all areas of the business, ensuring that future decisions are made based on the fullest understanding of the issues. Now let's dive into the software and see this. So right now, what you're looking at is the Prophix home screen. So this can also function as a dashboard. So Prophix is accessed through any modern browser on any device. It's written in HTML5, and what that means for you is that depending on the device, the dashboard will reorient itself so that you get the best viewing experience possible. It's not going to just shrink everything down and make it impossible to read. So whether it's your iPad, your tablet, your smartphone, you will get a good user visualization, and it is touchscreen friendly as well. So you really can use all of your devices other than your computers to interact with these dashboards. So they are also configurable for each user, and that's with regards to content, the layout of it, and the colors as well. So depending on your role in the organization, you can have unique dashboards based on those roles. We're going to come back to the area on the left, which is the analysis piece, the charts, the KPIs, and so forth. But before we do, I just want to show you on the side, not only do you have charts and graphs and so forth on your home screen, but also your favorites. So those are the key reports that you would look at on a regular basis. You simply click on the link and Prophix will take you right to that report. So it's very easy to navigate for the users. And then also the My Tasks area. So this is where the workflow integration comes in. And so again, you simply click on the link and it will take you to the data entry template that you want to look at to do your various budgeting, planning, forecasting, variance analysis, and so forth. So before we actually start our analysis and come back to the charts and graphs, let's go over to Prophix workflow. And we're going to look at this from the administrator side of things just for a minute. So workflow is the key to giving visibility and control to all of your business processes, from budgeting, planning, consolidation, all the way through to variance analysis. It allows you to integrate all aspects of your business processes into an easy to visualize diagram. So a flow chart like this, which lays out what happens and when it happens in an orderly fashion. So in other words, you have to import your data before you can send out your reports. Maybe you also want to put in a step there to just go take a look, validate that all the data came in, and then release the reports for distribution. So you can build all of that into Prophix, both the manual tasks that individuals need to perform, as well as those automated processes. So you can see here, import data. So when I kick off this workflow, it's going to automatically run my process to pull in my data. So from the end user perspective, you get the tasks that come to your home screen, as we looked at a minute ago. But not only that, but in addition to the tasks popping up on the user's home screen, there's also automated email communication as well. So when I get a task assigned to me, I'll get it pop up on my dashboard, but it will also come to my inbox. Additionally, if I have things like approval processes set up, then events that happen throughout workflow will also generate automated email communication. So, for example, if I submit my budget or my variance analysis, an email will kick off to the person who has to view it and approve it, so my boss. And all this is done automatically, so the person who is running, whether it's the budget process, the consolidation process, and so forth, doesn't have to do all these manual tasks. The system takes care of it for you. So everybody gets complete communication across the organization without having one person to do a lot of manual work. And again, this really is key to the performance reporting side of things. So let's head back over to the dashboard and see how we can use it for analysis. So I'm just going to reset my my chart here. So as you can see, you can pull a lot of different kinds of information into a Prophix dashboard. So we have charts and graphs. So here I'm looking at a revenue at the total company level, budget versus actual, broken out by the different quarters. I've got gross margin percentage calculation for the current month. I've got my COGS for the current month. Some costs here broken out across the different regions in my company. As I scroll down, I can see I've got information at the customer level. So a little bit of business intelligence built in here, breaking out my revenue by my top 5 customers, some ratios, working capital, inventory, turns. So a wide variety of information that I can display. And notice the current month. So one of the things that's really nice about Prophix is you can define centrally your current month, and the system will roll all of your dashboards and reports forward at the appropriate time. So it really reduces any kind of manual efforts, both for the dashboards and the reports as well. And by the way, both are very easy to build as well as to use, as you're going to see. So now let's take a look at our revenue. So that's the first area I really wanted to dig into and understand a little better. So I'm looking at my revenue broken out by my 3 quarters, and I can see my revenue is increasing across the year. So I'm really happy with that. But I'd like to know, does that trend, is that replicated at the monthly level? So are my months increasing as I go across the quarter? Or is it more of an even distribution? So I can see by digging into the quarter number 3, I can see the months are actually changing and increasing. So this type of a trend, now that I've verified it, I could go and I could build that into my forecast or build it into my budget for next year. And all of that can be done in Prophix as well, using various spreading tools and so forth to actually replicate the trends that I'm seeing here on the dashboard. However, let's dig in a little deeper and see if we can understand this at a more granular level, right? So we're looking at our information at the total revenue level, but I want to see how it's broken out, by channel, by customer, by product, and really dig in and understand what these numbers truly mean. So Prophix allows you to link more detailed reports to your various charts in your dashboard. So now I'm looking at, it's still a revenue variance report, but it's broken out by my different channels. So wholesale, retail, distributor, and so forth. So right away at a glance, I can see a couple things. So I can see that my wholesale channel is outstripping all of my other channels. Good information to know, but it's also outstripping my expectations. Look at the variance between budget and actuals. And if I want to see those as numbers, I can have those in my chart as well. So I can see my wholesale number is higher than the rest of the channels and also exceeds my budget. And there's my variance percentage. Now, I can open up the filters here and I can ask myself, now, is this the case across the whole company? And which it is, as we can see, but what about regionally? Are there regional differences around these trends, or is it pretty steady across all of my global operations? So I can click on the United States, for example, and I can see that my private label is actually outstripping wholesale, which is interesting, but I still have a large variance. Now, one of the things that's nice about Prophix is the fact that you can use the filters to actually provide security. So what that means is when I build this report, I can build it for all of my territories across the world. But if I have individuals that are only allowed to see certain territories, then the system would strip those out of their report when they log into the system. So the system automatically ensures that I'm only seeing data that I have security permission to see. So I've got pretty much all the information I can get out of this report. However, I know that not only am I breaking my sales out by different sales channels and by territories, but also by products as well. So I have a couple of options with Prophix. I could actually link another report to this report and access another formal formatted report. However, if I don't have a report that shows the data just the way I want to see it, then I can go and get that data myself. So I can use my Analyze tool here. So now what I'm looking at is I'm looking at the same data set that was in the report, but now I can slice and dice and I can drill up and drill down and get an even deeper understanding of my numbers. So for example, I can open up my wholesale division here and I can see it's made up of a number of different customers. And I can see the actual, the budget, and the variance for those different customers. I can also drill back up again. So it works like any, typical Windows kind of deal, drilling up and drilling down. But with Prophix that all of this data is correct. And you don't have to build these drill paths ahead of time. So it's kind of like a pivot table, right? But you don't have to actually build it. And I don't know about you guys, but I find pivot tables can be a little bit challenging to build. Whereas with Prophix, it's all drag and drop with the mouse, super easy for even the most non-technical user like me to really be able to get the self-sufficiency. So again, we also have the filters on the side, and we can look at our data in a different way now. So for example, products. So I want to take a look at how my products are doing across my wholesale channel. So now I can drill into my products. So I've got product lines rolling into my products. I can drill deeper. I've got product groups rolling into product lines. And I can drill into the group and I can go all the way down to the SKU level. So Prophix allows you to build these roll-ups and they can be as deep or as wide as you need them to be. You can also build alternate roll-ups if you wanted to, depending on what your reporting needs are. Now I'm looking at this and I can see product group 1 has some pretty significant revenue here. So one thing that Prophix does allow me to do is I've imported data into the system, but I haven't replicated the data source. So I've brought that data in this case, at the monthly level. But I'd like to actually see what were the individual transactions that make up that monthly number. So rather than having to, exit Prophix, log into the CRM or the ERP, wherever the data is sitting, and then I have to have a license, I have to know how to use it. It's not always easy. With Prophix, I don't have to do any of that. I can simply select the drill across, and the system will open up a link to my source system, and it will allow me to see the individual transactions. I can do a really easy sort here and sort, in this case, from largest to smallest. So I can see the transactions that are more materially influencing the numbers. A little save to Excel is also possible here. So if you needed to include this in some kind of a reporting package, you could do that easily. And that's true with any Prophix report, as well as our ad hoc screen here. So you're always going to see the save to Excel, save to PDF as well buttons, if you need to do that for some needs within your company. So we've been sort of focusing a little bit on revenue dollars here, but I know that I'm calculating my revenue for my budget based on some drivers. So units sold, quantities, as well as price. So what I can do is I can actually drag my accounts up. So I've got my revenue, and I can go in and I can actually select what it is I want to see. So choose members. So here I can go in and I can grab my revenue again. As well as my quantity here. So I can see my revenues and my units. Now what I really need to see is the variances. So what I can do is I can simply go in and I can do a little drag and a drop, and I can pull my variances back into the columns. So now I've got product revenue broken out by actual, budget, variance percentage, and I've got my quantity as well. So I can take a look at this and I can see the variances actually follow the revenue. So sorry, the variances of my units sold, my quantity, follow the variances of my revenue. So that's a pretty good indicator that it really is the quantities that are the source of the variances. Had I seen maybe an increase in quantity, then I would need to further investigate. It could have been maybe my pricing was wrong, my quantity was good, so I then have something actionable for next time. I would then change my pricing. But in this case, it's really the quantity. So I can now use that information to, either reforecast a future period or for my budget. So ramp up my quantities, my pricing was good, and I should have a nice close forecast or budget. So what have we done? So we started out in the dashboard at a very high level, just looking at total revenues by quarters. We identified some trending across the months that we could then carry forward into our forecasts or our budgets. But we also wanted to dig deeper. So we drilled over to a variance report that allowed us to see our revenues and variances broken out by our different channels. We looked and we saw that it was primarily a North American issue with the wholesale channel. Then we did a drag and a drop back over to our ad hoc analysis screen, and we identified some product lines and SKUs that we wanted to take a look at, and we also wanted to compare quantity variances versus revenue variance to see what was the cause of the variance, and we identified quantity as the issue. So we now have a solid plan in place for doing some future forecasting. So we now have a pretty good handle on the revenue side of things. So let's go back to the dashboard here and let's take a look at what we can see on the expense side. So what we did for variance analysis for the expenses, we've actually made a formal process that will allow visibility across who's accessing the variance reports and so forth. So we built that into our workflow. And so now that task comes to my home screen as well as my email, and I can click on it, and it's going to open up a template that's going to allow me to look at my variances. So let's talk about what's in this report. So I've got my expense accounts in the rows here, and I'm looking again at actual budget variance. The filters on the side work the same way that we talked about before. So we can see we're doing variance analysis for the Northeast region, and we're looking at one particular department. So in addition to just the numbers, we've actually put in some conditional formatting. We want to make this super easy for the users to quickly identify the variances and to be able to easily provide the necessary information. So I can see I've got a variance here, budget to actual at the salary level. So I actually remember that I hired 2 people in January. So I can put that in to my comments. Now, anyone who has access to this report and to this data will be able to see this. So if my boss needs to review my commentary, no problem, he'll be able to see this. And even if there was a slightly different layout to the report, he'd be able to see it as well. We'll talk about that in a little more detail. Now, that one was really simple and easy for me to remember. You know, hiring 2 people is a memorable event. So I could provide that information. But a lot of times, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but put together a budget and a month later, I don't remember why I budgeted certain things. So it's really helpful to be able to associate comments with our budget numbers. So you can see as I hover over it, very similar to Excel, budgeted approximately $50 per head count. Now I can go in and view and edit here. So I can actually create a whole list of comments and others would be able to see it. So I can actually generate a back and forth dialogue to talk about any issues that arise. I can also attach other documents, whether it be Word documents, PDFs, or even Excel spreadsheets to help to flesh out why I budgeted the way I did. And what really makes this powerful is the fact that this little red flag and the comment are attached to the piece of data itself. They're not trapped here in the variance report. So what that means is any other is, or sorry, this comment here. So this comment here is attached to the piece of data, not trapped in this particular report. But even more importantly, this comment that I made in the office expense for budgeting, it was actually made in the budget template itself. So I can see it in any report where it has this number in it. So again, if you think about that, you know, from an analysis point of view, you see a number that you want to investigate, you don't have to go back to the budget template and try to figure out if you put any information in there. The system tells you that right from the variance report. As I scroll down, I can also see under my advertising here, I've got a significant variance. So hopefully you can see this. Under my budget number, there's a little blue flag here as well. So what that tells me is it tells me that I actually have more supporting detail behind this budget number. So we call them line item schedules. So for this particular account, advertising, rather than budgeting a number of, rather than budgeting a single number, I budgeted a number of different advertising campaigns. I can put those numbers in individually and I can see the total will roll up and populate my budget line item automatically. And I can put lots of context around this particular budget. And again, at the end of the day, that really is what is key to your performance reporting. It's being able to see the data, being able to see all levels of the data, and being able to provide that additional information that will allow the users to better, make better decisions going forward. So before I finish up here, I've done all of my commentary, provided all the information. I can now take a look at workflow and I can actually submit this report. So as a natural part of the workflow, I submit my report. I can add a comment to this as well as the comments on the facing page. And then what happens is my boss would then receive an automated email with a link to the variance report that would allow him to review my variances and either approve or reject my commentary. So if he rejects it, then it comes back to me. He can provide some commentary. That's where we can get this whole dialogue thing happening. And then I can go in and I can add additional information and then resubmit. So once he's happy with all of that information, he can approve it, and then he can use the intel that we've worked together to provide, again, to go to budget and forecast templates, all located within Prophix, and to build this intelligence into those forecasts, those budgets, and really just allow for more accuracy going forward. Now, if you guys think that Prophix provides some powerful analytics tools that it's easy to use, I want you to think about a scenario. So let's take this scenario that you have a meeting, maybe it's a presentation to the board. So you can actually embed the Prophix dashboard right into your PowerPoint slides. And this is not just simply a picture, a screenshot, or a copy to the PowerPoint. It's actually the live dashboard. So in this scenario, you might be looking at, let's say, the revenue by product group. Somebody asks you a question. So they ask you, why is Group D higher in revenue than, say, Group B? Maybe it was against what they had expected. So in the old world, you might have to kind of look around, see if you can find a report, or worse, take a guess. But with Prophix, you don't have to do that. You can actually drill live into the dashboard, and it will actually redraw the graph just like we saw in the original dashboard that we were looking at. And it's now drilled down into the individual product level. So I can see the sales relative to the different products. Now, if that's not enough information, I can actually drill over to the ad hoc analysis screen, and we can then slice and dice the data, move things around exactly how we did it before, but right live from our PowerPoint presentation. So no more taking a guess. it gives you the ability to answer all of those questions on the fly, knowing that the data is 100% correct. So just to kind of summarize, we've seen how Prophix can enhance collaboration and communication across the organization. So workflow allows us to push data to key stakeholders. It keeps everybody in contact through automated emails. You can have approvals on your various tasks, even something as simple as your variance analysis. You can use the analytics tools to analyze all of your data. We've done revenues and expenses. So starting out at a total revenue level, drilling all the way down through different levels using different tools to get right down to the transaction level. Looking at a variance report that would allow me to provide commentary on all of the significant variances, which have been highlighted for me to make it easy. So we've been able to do all of that. And then we can take the integrated planning tools and we can turn all of this information into actionable plans for the future, which at the end of the day really is the goal for performance reporting. Taking your information, understanding your business, and having something actionable, both in terms of what you can do to make things better, but as well to improve things like your forecasts, your plans, your budgets, and so forth. And it's all can be done by Prophix because it is that full integrated corporate performance management tool. So I'd like to turn things over to Chantel for her to introduce the next presenter.
That's great. Thank you, Tracy. Now, before we move on to the questions, as Tracy said, I'd like to quickly introduce you to my colleague, Aaron Samuel. Aaron is one of our solution architects here at Emergence, and he's going to talk a bit about how we can leverage Prophix to meet your IFRS 17 requirements. Aaron has been working in the accounting field for over 15 years, and he has worked with many accounting systems and reporting platforms over the course of his career, so we thought it was appropriate for him to address the topic of IFRS 17 today. Aaron?
Hi everyone. Thanks, Tracy, and thanks, Chantel. So we wanted to take a moment just to talk to you about a new accounting standard that's going to be coming into play at the beginning of January 2022. So IFRS 17 is now coming into effect, and this specifically relates to insurance contracts in the insurance industry. And since so many of our clients, so many people within Bermuda and the islands, as well as a lot of people on this webinar kind of fall into that category, we thought it would be a great time to talk about how Prophix and Emergence can help you with this new accounting standard that's going to be coming down the line. Now, the basis of this standard is kind of an international or an industry-specific regulation that's going to standardize how insurance policies and contracts are treated on the accounting side. As well, it's going to increase kind of the reporting and the disclosure that's required for these contracts. And this is where a system like Prophix will come in quite handy and will help us tackle the new regulations. So taking a look at the IFRS standard, we really see there's kind of two different parts to this standard. The first part is really going to be the accounting side of it and how the calculations and the method behind the calculations for those contracts. And it's going to be more of a GL and a financial system change, the grouping and how you're accounting for the information. The second part of this standard really focuses on the reporting and the increased disclosure requirements for it. And so with both of these, this is where Prophix can be very handy. And so we saw during the presentation that not only can Prophix link into your GL system, it helps us create those financial statements. We can drill down on certain categories and see sub-statements and how all that information is made up. We can also link the system into your policy-based systems and the operational systems. And a lot of the disclosure documents that we're seeing that are going to be required really are going to require you to report the underlying operational data. So the discounted rate, the cash flow calculations, and those calculations need to be updated every single year, every single reporting period. And we can even go as far as having Prophix really step in and become that type of data warehouse and contain that information and help you revalue those policies and those policy groups. So you kind of get this added benefit of being able to do your financial statements and drill down to your supporting documents. We can do our disclosure statements and the supporting data and that operational information. And then you get the additional benefit of also having an automated budgeting system and being able to tie all three of these statements and all three of these pillars really together to form a central reporting solution. Now, if we're looking at this this IFRS regulation coming into play for January 2022, this really means these companies that it's going to affect need to start thinking about a solution now. So we really look at 2019 by the end of that, having that solution kind of ready and thought out and designed. 2021 or 2020 is really where we're going to implement the solution and go through the user acceptance testing. And that will position your company to be able to go for a full year in 2021 and be able to run both systems concurrent and make sure that we're getting the information that we need. And it will set your company up ready to go and meet the IFRS standards for January 1st, 2022. So really let Emergence be able to come in and help you kind of get through this new standard and get through these new reports that we need to create. Okay, thanks, Chantal.
Thanks, Aaron. Okay, guys, so we're going to move on to the questions now. So we have quite a few questions. First one, Tracy, can this chart be modified to represent business line, insurance, banking, pension, for instance?
So the answer to that question is yes. So the charts and graphs can be configured specifically for your business. So depending on your industry and your company and how you want to look at the data, you can build out your Prophix models to have, any what we call dimensions. So in other words, lines of business, things like that. So you would build those into the model itself, and then we build the charts and graphs off of the model. So whatever's in your model, if it's lines of business, that's what you're going to actually see in the charts themselves. And it's completely configurable for any industry, any vertical, and any company. So absolutely.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Next question. Will the comment for that period be carried forward for future period variance analysis?
So the comment does get attached to the piece of data. So anytime you're displaying that data, you're going to see the comment. So if you wanted to display your data, let's say a trend report across the whole year, then you'd be able to see the comment in the appropriate place for that particular month. So say if the comment was put in January, you'd be able to then see that comment in the trend report and any report that that you're looking at. And by the way, those cell comments, you can actually see those in the ad hoc analysis screen as well. So it's not just the reports. The row notes are in the reports and are attached to the piece of data, but the little cell comments with the red flags, those you can view in your ad hoc analysis as well.
Okay. Next question is, can Prophix be used at an educational institution?
Yeah, so the answer to that is yes. And we do have a number of customers that are educational institutions, and they do use Prophix. So a lot of them will use it for, around their student enrollment. And it can be broken out in lots of different ways, by program, by professor, by class, as well as, all of the other types of revenue that educational institutes, raises. I did one a number of years ago where I was actually helping them to budget and forecast the school store. And so it was, somewhat like a retail institute for that. But on the education side, they were budgeting enrollment and so forth. So it really is very versatile. And we have customers in all of the major industries, including education.
Okay. Next question. Can Prophix be incorporated with another software?
So I'm not entirely sure what that question means. Let me take a crack at it. And if I get it wrong, we can follow up with you, make sure. So if I do get it wrong, I'll make sure you get the correct answer. But the way I kind of took that question is basically, can Prophix, pull data from different softwares? Can it push data out maybe so that you can upload budgets and things like that? So the answer is yes. We talked a little bit about the data integration, but we can also push the data out of Prophix to, if you want to upload your budgets, we also have an Excel add-in, so it can interface with Excel. And you saw the PowerPoint integration, though I suspect it was after the question was asked, so no worries. So yeah, we can embed the Prophix dashboards into the PowerPoint and actually do some slicing and dicing. So it does interface with the Office products very well. As well, you can upload data to the other systems and, of course, download the data. So if that didn't answer your question, please just reach out to us and we'll make sure you get the right answer. Go ahead.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Just to add to that, we do have clients using Prophix to pull data from their primary systems and their ERP systems. So absolutely does work with other softwares. So, but like Tracy said, if that doesn't answer your question, please let us know, and we'd be happy to get into more detail with you on that. The next question is, for personnel planning, can Prophix calculate taxes and benefits for employees?
Yeah, I'm really glad that you asked that question, because we didn't really dig too deeply into the planning and budgeting capabilities, and Prophix has super powerful budgeting, planning, forecasting capabilities. And I believe that our personnel planning is actually one of the strongest, that and the revenue side. So you can actually load your employee information from your HR system into Prophix and then use baseline data like salary information to then calculate things like benefits, payroll taxes, and so forth at the named employee level. You can also use it for budgeting future headcount, and it will calculate the costs of those future employees. And it's flexible enough that if you have different business rules for different employees, you can build those into Prophix as well. So it can absolutely calculate the taxes and benefits, and it's really, really powerful. And we'd love the opportunity to show you that in some future presentation.
Okay, next question. Can those groups that is categorized by business lines can be further decomposed into product lines?
So yeah, absolutely. You can build as many different layers into your structure. And when you build it in Prophix, this is kind of like a tree structure. So in the ad hoc analysis tool, we had right down to the product SKU level, rolling into product groups, product lines, and so forth. So you can have as many different roll-ups as you want. And those roll-ups don't have to exist outside of Prophix. You can actually build special roll-ups within Prophix if you want to give you the level of reporting that you need.
Okay, next question is around how Prophix is costed out and how it's deployed. So essentially, Tracy, I guess we've got two different ways of doing that, which is either on-premise or cloud, correct?
Yes, that's correct. But just to add to that, just to add to that, whether you choose to deploy cloud or on-prem, the same browser interface applies to both. So what you saw in the presentation today, that's the type of thing you would see regardless of how you deploy it.
Okay, great. Another question here. Do I need my IT department to create reports, or can I do them myself?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked me that question. Yeah, you can build reports yourself without IT, without Prophix, and they're really easy. Remember the ad hoc analysis screen that we saw where we dragged things into the rows and columns? And remember how the numbers came in automatically? Well, that's actually how you build a report in Prophix. So once your data is in the system, to build a report, you simply use your mouse and drag and drop what you want to see in the rows, what you want to see in the columns. You save that view, and you can come back and look at it anytime you want, but you can also drop it into the report designer, and you can use a format ribbon very, very similar to Excel to actually apply the formatting. So it's super easy. You don't have to learn any special reporting skills in order to build reports in Prophix.
Okay, last three questions. We are currently using Excel to budget and forecast. Can any of the Excel business logic we already have be transferred over?
So yeah, the answer to that too is yes. So there's different ways that you can build business logic into Prophix. I mentioned very, very briefly the whole concept of centralized formulas and calculations. So a simple one that we talked about a little bit that I mentioned, price times quantity to get to revenue. So that's the type of business logic you'd have it in Excel that you can build into Prophix. But with Prophix, if you have consistent methodologies, so when I'm budgeting revenue, it's always price times quantity, then I can build that centrally into Prophix, and I don't have to copy and paste formulas in hundreds or thousands of cells like I do in Excel. But in addition to that, you can also build formulas into the Prophix templates as well using the Excel syntax. So you get the best of both worlds with Prophix. Formulas very like Excel, or centralized formulas that will reduce the amount of copy and paste and therefore, the risk of human error. So both worlds.
Okay. Are you able to consolidate data across multiple countries and currencies, or are they all separate reports?
Good question. Yeah, we didn't talk too much about consolidation. I just touched on it briefly. So we have a lot of customers that are multinational, including ourselves, by the way. And so I see that a lot. So I see the ability, you need the ability to budget and report in multiple currencies. So Prophix does allow that. So pulling in data to the different business units based on their local currency, and then consolidating to, whatever is the consolidating currency. The system will do that for you automatically based on rates that you set. And then in terms of reporting, you would build all this into a single Prophix model, and therefore you'd be able to integrate it with reports. So one thing that I do see a lot would be like an income statement or a balance sheet with the different companies in the columns. So a segmented income statement or balance sheet, if you will. So you might see a series of companies in the columns, have a column for your intercompany eliminations, and then see your fully consolidated total. So all within the capabilities of Prophix.
Okay, a couple more questions have come in.
Okay.
Is there a way to distribute a report on a specific day each month?
Yes. So I didn't show you an example of this, but Prophix has the ability to group reports into report books, and you can then schedule those report books to be sent out at a specific day, specific time, and so forth, or you can send individual reports out as well. So either or, Prophix does allow you to schedule the distribution of your reports.
Okay, and last question is the system a cloud-based solution?
So yeah, we did mention that a little bit earlier. You can deploy Prophix on the cloud or on-prem. It's completely up to you.
Okay. I think we've covered all of our questions. Tracy, was there anything else you wanted to cover before we wrap up? Because I see we've run out of time.
Yeah, I think we're good to go, but you guys kept me on my toes today. That was excellent. I love it when I get lots of questions.
Great. Okay, well, just in case you guys didn't notice, we've made a Prophix brochure available for you to download in the handout section in the control panel, so please feel free to download that. And if you'd like to discuss your company's requirements in a bit more detail to see if Prophix would be a good fit for your organization, please contact either myself or Rob, and Tracy's going to put those contact details up on the screen right now, and we'll be happy to assist you with that. If you think others in your organization would get value from this webinar, a recorded version will be available and it'll be sent to you. So please feel free to share with your colleagues. And finally, a survey will pop up on your screen when you close the webinar today. So please take a few seconds to answer the survey. Your feedback is extremely helpful in making sure that we are delivering content that you want to hear about. So thank you very much for providing it. Once again, thank you all for joining us today, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day, everyone.